Act, and I want to thank Chairman Hill for his extraordinary leadership, not just in this Congress, but for a long time advocating for this moment. He deserves a tremendous amount of credit for persevering and working and marshaling bipartisan, bicameral support. And I want to thank him for his terrific leadership. I want to thank the gentleman from Wisconsin, Mr. Stile, for being a subject matter expert and working in a bipartisan way to build a bipartisan coalition for this moment. And there's been a lot, Mr. Speaker, made in this term of Congress about the one big, beautiful bill. And it's a historic piece of legislation, no doubt, and it's going to supercharge our economy. It's jet fuel for our economy. It's tax cuts, the biggest tax cuts we've ever seen in this country's history. But I would argue, with all respect, that arguably the most important, most transformational piece of legislation in this Congress are these bills we're talking about here today, the Genius Act and the Clarity Act. It is paramount that we send this historic piece of legislation, the Genius Act, to the President's desk, because this bill is the first of its kind in creating a regulatory framework for the future for stablecoin issuance in the United States to revolutionize finance and payments in this country and around the globe. Not only will this cement us, the United States, for decades to come as leaders and innovators in the digital asset space, but it will protect, importantly, protect the U.S. dollar's dominance and increase demand in our Treasury market. In the Genius Act, stablecoins become pegged to the U.S. dollar and backed by high-quality liquid assets. So, in stark contrast to what my friend, the gentleman from Illinois, was arguing, this actually prevents these other so-called stable coins from actually thriving in the marketplace. That you're going to have stable coins that actually are stable. That's why we need the bill. The gentleman is actually making the argument for us. The gentleman from Illinois. He's making the argument for why he should support the Genius Act because of non-stable stable coins that are out there. Those products will lose ground in the marketplace after we pass the Genius Act. It will ensure that consumers are protected while reaping the benefits of blockchain technology. The Genius Act will allow for scalability to occur in the stablecoin marketplace, ensuring American consumers and businesses have access to this innovative product. Both banks and non-banks can issue stablecoins under the Genius Act, bringing together the best actors in both the traditional finance space and the new era of digital finance. The Genius Act provides that all appropriately regulated banks, including the U.S. Operations of foreign banking organizations, which are supervised by the Federal Reserve, are treated equally to their U.S. peers. This is particularly important with respect to the issuance, reserve, and custody services and bank capital requirements, irrespective of whether they are deposit insured, since the Act prohibits stablecoins from being covered by FDI insurance. A robust, well-regulated stablecoin market eliminates any justification for a government-controlled central bank digital currency, or CBDC, which jeopardizes Americans' access to freedom, privacy, and apolitical private capital. And this is an important point for all of my colleagues on my side of the aisle who share my concern and opposition to a CBDC. If you want to put a dagger in the heart of this crazy surveillance state idea of a central bank digital currency, pass this bill. Vote for this bill. Vote for the Genius Act, which will eliminate all arguments for a CBDC. So with the Genius Act, we will increase the speed and decrease the cost of payments. We will decrease and eliminate friction from our payment system. If all Americans see housing their deposits via a CBDC at the Federal Reserve as a risk-free proposition, they would be incentivized to pull their money out of...
I'll yield the gentleman 15 more seconds.
So just to conclude, we want to avoid eroding the deposit base and starving the private sector of conventional bank financing. So the Genius Act will not erode the deposit base, and it will allow banks to issue and custody stablecoins and participate in this emerging crypto economy. Cementing the dollar as the world's reserve currency, protecting consumers in the deposit base, and supercharging the Treasury market. I yield back.
I reserve.
Gentleman reserves. The gentlewoman from California is recognized.
Thank you very much. I now yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Davidson, who is the Republican chairman of the National Security Subcommittee.
The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
I thank the ranking member. I have not seen a perfect bill since I've been in Congress. but this is a pretty good bill. It's an important bill. Regulating stablecoins is long overdue at the federal level. But make no mistake, stablecoins aren't new. The New York Department of Financial Services has regulated stablecoins in the state of New York since 2018. They're time-tested and proven, and they've been stable. It's long overdue for us to provide federal legal clarity here. So why am I speaking in opposition to it? Well, look, my Republican colleagues are exactly right about the stablecoins and the need for regulation. That's why we passed the Stable Act. But my Democratic colleagues are right this time to recognize that the legislative process is broken. And frankly, we all know that. Everyone in the House does. We've seen it broken on lots of things. But here today, we've got a defective product that our legislative process prevented us from fixing. On the product, the Genius Act, we agree. We've got 5 amendments that we want to do to the Genius Act that we're doing in clarity, and they're important. And frankly, while the Genius Act does address retail CBDC, and it's an important concession because Democrats want a surveillance state central bank digital currency. You're going to see that when we vote later on Tom Emmer's bill. They want that. Republicans are thankfully united in opposing central bank digital currency, but we should deal with that fully here. On March 8th of 2023, in a dialogue with Chairman Hill, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell said that they would need congressional approval for a retail CBDC. But he went on to explain that you could have a layered CBDC, and they're building just that at the Federal Reserve. We should completely turn that off, and that's why we need to pass Emmer's bill. I'll talk about that later. But we also need to protect self-custody, which is the ability for you to move your money directly, person to person, without an intermediary. You won't have direct access to your own money unless you protect it, because government agencies continue to try to ban it, and we need to protect
Gentleman's
it.
time's expired.
We do in clarity, and that's why I oppose the bill.
Mr. Speaker,
Gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Pennsylvania, the chairman of our Oversight Committee, Mr. Muser.
Gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to rise today in strong support of S. 1582, the Genius Act. I want to thank the chairman of our full Financial Service Committee, Chairman Hill, for his leadership, Chairman Stile for his great work, and also Whip Emmer and so many on in our committee and our colleagues in the Senate for their work in this legislation. I also want to recognize President Trump's administration, crypto czar David Sachs, SEC Chair Paul Atkins, for their efforts to reverse the Biden-era irrational opposition and misguided regulations that we lived with for 4 years towards innovation, and now we are setting America back on a pro-growth, America First course. Mr. Speaker, the Senate's legislation built on 2 years of groundwork by the House, crafting a framework for stable coins that protects consumers, the dollar, unleashes private sector innovation. This bill achieves 3 goals. It supports the dollar's role as the world's reserve currency, provides a private sector alternative to a government-run digital dollar, very important, and modernizes payments to reduce costs and expand access. This is smart, forward-looking policy.
Gentleman's time's
I urge my
expired.
colleagues to support, and I yield back.
I reserve, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman reserves. Gentlewoman from California is recognized.
I yield myself such time as I may consume. Since assuming office, President Trump has been making himself richer and richer while working-class Americans are struggling just to stay afloat. President Trump has earned once more. In September of 2024, on the campaign trail, the Trump family launched World Liberty Financial, which they have described as a decentralized finance or DeFi company. On January 17th, 2 days before the presidential inauguration, President Donald Trump launched his Trump meme coin, and days later, Melania Trump launched her meme coin. On March 25th, 2025, World Liberty Financial launched a dollar-pegged stablecoin just 1 week before the House Financial Services Committee marked up stablecoin legislation and 2 weeks after Senate colleagues held their markup. On March 31st, on July 8th, Trump Media and Technology Group, the company that operates the Truth social media platform, announced that it had filed paperwork with the SEC to launch the crypto blue chip ETF later this year. Now let's add all of this up. Since January of this year, President Trump and his family have launched or planning to launch 6 different crypto ventures. 6. Congressional Republicans and the crypto industry will investors they can afford to see themselves through an FTX-type collapse. No one, not a Republican or a Democrat, should be using their office to make themselves richer while everyday Americans are struggling to buy groceries and pay for their health care. Everyday Americans are simply trying to survive thanks to Republican policies while President Trump and his billionaire boys club thrive in the economy. It's simple. If people want to know why members of Congress can't simply exclude the president and the vice president, why do they keep them in both of the bills as owners of crypto? Why did they avoid my amendment that would take them out? I don't believe that the president, the vice president, his cabinet, his family, or any members of Congress should be owners of crypto. And I certainly don't believe that the office of the presidency should be used by anybody, any president, now or in the future, to be the owners of crypto. With that, I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman reserves. The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Nebraska, Mr. Flood, who chairs.
From Nebraska is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Chairman Hill. I've been working on this since I was in the Nebraska legislature. Back in 2021, I passed the Nebraska Financial Innovation Act, making our state the second state to allow state-chartered banks to custody digital assets, mostly stablecoins. These stablecoins have the ability to greatly increase not only the speed of payments and settlements, but to also make our economic system even more efficient. Stablecoins will also support the advancement of the U.S. dollar around the globe. We may often take it for granted, but most of the transactions around the globe rely on a currency backed by the U.S. dollar. That could change if we don't adopt laws like this. Who steps in? Adversaries like China. We want to have a presence on the continent of Africa. That is the next frontier. This assures us of that. In the early days, caution was certainly prudent. Stablecoins are a novel technology with significant questions regarding how to protect consumers, what happens in the event of a bankruptcy, how to ensure that the issuers live up to the technology's namesake by providing a truly stable asset, the dollar. That's why we've been working in our committee the last several years. Similarly, the Senate has been running through their process. Let me be clear, this bill is not perfect. With my experience in Nebraska, I have been a strident supporter of a strong, robust state pathway for issuers. This bill has a state pathway, but it's capped at $10 billion asset threshold. I personally much prefer Congressman Brian Stiles' Stable Act to this Senate product. However, despite my personal preferences, this bill absolutely provides a comprehensive and safe federal framework for stablecoin regulation. In order to usher in a new era of blockchain innovation, we need to pass the Genius Act so our regulators can get to work implementing a comprehensive stablecoin framework. With that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back.
I reserve, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman reserves. The gentlewoman from California is recognized.
I request unanimous consent to enter the following letters from organizations who oppose this terrible bill. The AFL-CIO, who is scoring this vote. Americans for Financial Reform, who is leading 78 investor, consumer, religious, and civil rights groups and public citizens. With that, I reserve the balance of my time.
Without objection, the gentleman from Arkansas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from New Jersey, a distinguished member on the House Financial Services Committee, Mr. Gottheimer.
The gentleman from New Jersey is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I rise in support of the bipartisan Genius Act. This legislation builds on the bicameral negotiations that Chairman Hill, former Chairman McHenry, Chairman Stile, and I, and so many others have worked so hard on for the past years. The Genius Act is smart bipartisan legislation that backs stablecoins through U.S. dollar on a one-to-one basis and allows states to make future safeguards to further protect consumers. The Genius Act, as I said, protects consumers and gives clear rules of the road to allow America to lead the way in a space that is key to our economy. It cracks down on illicit finance, helps counter bad actors, and reinforces the global strength of the dollar, all while lowering the cost of payments and making transactions happen in just seconds. The bill has already passed the Senate in a strong bipartisan way. Now it's time for us to clarify rules for stablecoins, protect consumers, and promote American innovation. As I said before when we were talking about the Clarity Act, the question is, do you want some rules of the road or no rules of the road? To vote against this bill and to vote against the Clarity Act, it's irresponsible if you want to make sure that the Trump coin has oversight, that you want to make sure that the consumers are protected. I don't know, will the gentleman yield 15 more seconds?
15 more seconds.
And I just think it's critical to not pass this legislation is deeply irresponsible because it'll allow the Wild West to continue. This will protect consumers, ensure that the Trump coin and others have protection, are overseen with protection and oversight from the CFTC, from the SEC.
Expired.
It's critically important to protecting consumers and to protecting our country.
I reserve.
The gentleman reserves. Gentleman from California, recognized.
Actually, let me just reiterate, it's irresponsible to turn this bill over to the President of the United States, and I continue to reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman reserves. The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I want to yield 2 minutes to my friend, the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Carter.
The gentleman from Georgia is recognized for 2 minutes.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to voice my support for Senate Bill 1582, the Genius Act of 2025, which will provide a clear regulatory framework for the issuance of stablecoins in the U.S. This bipartisan, industry-supported bill will finally give the stablecoin asset class clear rules of the road for the issuance and use of digital assets. The Genius Act will establish standards so issuers are credible and stablecoins are quality assets in a rapidly innovating digital market. I would like to thank the Senate for passing this bill and getting into the House so quickly. I encourage all my colleagues to vote in support of the Genius Act. It is a vital step in keeping America the pinnacle of financial innovation. Let's make the U.S. the crypto capital of the world. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized. The gentleman from Arkansas reserves. The gentlewoman from California is
I continue to reserve the balance
recognized.
of my time.
Gentlewoman reserves.
Thank you, Mr.
Gentleman
Speaker.
from Arkansas.
I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Vindman.
The gentleman from Virginia is recognized for 1 minute.
As Vice Ranking Member of the Commodity Markets, Digital Assets, and Rural Development Subcommittee of the House Agriculture Committee, I rise today in support of both the Clarity and Genius Act. These bills aren't perfect, but digital innovation in our economy is critical to our economy, and I support a regulatory framework that protects consumers and the financial system. However, I am concerned the ability for certain officials to use these assets for self-enrichment at the highest levels of our government. These bills ensure members of Congress and many other government officials must abide by ethics rules that we expect from government officials, allowing the industry to innovate as it should. But two individuals are exempted, the President and Vice President. This is incredibly dangerous and undermines confidence in this important industry. It also further degrades the public trust in our government, especially at a time when that trust is already eroded by the President's refusal to release the Epstein files. We need to take important steps to establish a regulatory framework for digital assets to thrive and to restore public trust. We need action now, and I hope we can close these loopholes. Thank you. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
I reserve.
Gentleman from Arkansas reserves. Gentleman from California is
I
recognized.
continue to reserve the balance of my time.
Gentlewoman continues to reserve her balance of her time.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Herodopoulos, our majority whip of the House Financial Services Committee.
The gentleman from the state of Florida is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Once again, we are showing that we can lead here in Washington, D.C., getting things done with the leadership of our president and our leadership here in the House, working together with the United States Senate. And it shows that we are offering that certainty and stability once again for our economy to make America first. We're going to make the dollar dominant once again, and we're going to lead on digital currency payments. So it will increase, of course, the demand for U.S. Treasuries and move us towards that dominant position we need to have in the financial markets. And I applaud our chairman. As a new member of this committee, it has been wonderful to watch a person in action attempting to work with the other side, pushing through bipartisan legislation, and once again proving that Washington can work if we have leadership at the helm. Thank you, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am prepared to close, and I yield to the ranking member if she's prepared for her closing remarks.
From California is recognized.
Thank you. I have no further speakers, and I'm prepared to close if the gentleman from Arkansas has no further speakers.
Yield to you.
All right.
I yield myself the
California's
balance of the
recognized.
time. Let me again reiterate. A vote for SB 1582 is a vote to give Trump the pen to write the rules that would put more money in his family's pocket. A vote is a vote to plant the seeds for the next financial crisis. A vote for S 1582 is a vote to endanger our national security. That is 1582, the Genius Act, and I urge all other members to also vote no. I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman yields back. The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield myself such time as I may consume in my closing, and I yield myself the remainder of my time.
The gentleman's recognized.
Let me start by saying that we're here on the floor. We've heard a vigorous debate about dollar-backed payment stablecoins. Our committee has worked under both Democratic leadership, under Mrs. Waters, and under Republican leadership to research this, talk about it, think about it, have hearings about it for over 5 years now. And we come to the House floor today with a bill before us that, while not perfect, is a good bill, as has been evidenced by our speakers on the floor. S 1582, the Genius Act, is a simple bipartisan bill that's long overdue and is based on that bipartisan work in both chambers. Wow, we're actually legislating. We're seeing bills passed in both chambers. It's exciting for me to see the good work of my friend Chairman Tim Scott of the Banking Committee in leading a policy-driven effort to put America's financial leadership first. S 1582, as written by Bill Hagerty, does exactly that. And Mr. Speaker, 68 senators voted for this bill in the United States Senate. 68. A quote, cloture-proof margin is only 60. 68 senators came together, including 18 Democrats, who vigorously debated this bill, worked on this bill, improved this bill, modified it, and sent it to us in the House. Likewise, Chairman Stile here in the House worked with those senators on both sides of the aisle all along the way to take the ideas that we had here in the House and our markup and our Stable Act and improve Genius. So with this legislation today on a bipartisan basis, we're modernizing our financial infrastructure, streamlining transactions, lowering costs, expanding financial tools for everyday Americans. This is about putting American innovation first. It's about creating a future where innovation is met with clarity, not confusion, where American ingenuity is empowered, not stifled by an outdated, not fit-for-purpose regulatory regime. The Genius Act will help maintain U.S. global leadership in financial technology, digital innovation, the power of the reserve currency, the United States dollar, while reinforcing important consumer protections and critical regulatory oversight where it's needed most. This is common sense, forward-looking legislation that reminds me of the earliest days of this House chamber agreeing in 1996 not to tax or regulate the Internet, but to tax and regulate how people use the Internet. This is a keen example of that principles-based legislation. I urge all my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to support the Genius Act, and I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. Pursuant to House Rule 580, the previous question is ordered on the bill. The question on third reading of the bill, those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Third reading. Read the
An
title.
act to provide for regulation of payment stablecoins and for other purposes.
The question on the passage of the bill, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The bill is passed.
Nays.
Gentlewoman from California is recognized.
So what? Ask for the yeas and nays.
The yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote of the yeas and nays will rise. If a sufficient number have risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Pursuant to Clause 8, Rule 20, further proceedings of this question will be postponed. For what purpose does the gentleman from Arkansas rise?
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to House Resolution 580, I now call up H.R. 1919 and ask for its immediate consideration in the House.
The clerk will read the title of the bill.
Union Calendar Number 66, H.R. 1919, a bill to amend the Federal Reserve Act to prohibit the Federal Reserve banks from offering certain products or services directly to an individual, to prohibit the use of central bank digital currency for monetary policy and for other purposes.
Pursuant to House Resolution 580, the amendment and the nature of the substitute recommended by the Committee of Financial Services is printed in the bill, is adopted, and the bill as amended is considered read. The bill as amended shall be debated for 1 hour, equally divided by the chair and the ranking minority member of the Committee on Financial Services or their respective designees. The gentleman from Arkansas, Mr. Hill, and the gentlewoman from California, Ms. Walters, will each control 30 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Arkansas, Mr. Hill.
I thank the Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days to revise and extend their remarks and include extraneous material on this bill.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, I now rise and yield myself such time as I may consume in support of H.R. 1919. This bill has been before us before in this House chamber. We debated it in the last Congress. It's had the outstanding leadership, support, and advocacy by our majority whip here in the House, Mr. Tom Emmer of Minnesota, and I rise in strong support. At stake is a fundamental choice about the future of money in America, a choice between freedom or government control. Central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, put the government at the center of every financial transaction, monitoring, controlling, and possibly restricting how Americans could use their own hard-earned money. As American government-controlled digital dollar threatens to open the door to government overreach here at home. It would threaten individual privacy and stifle innovation by undermining progress that we've seen from private sector solutions like we just talked about on this House floor privately issued U.S. dollar-backed payment stablecoins. That is a continuation of the evolution of the private sector guiding the expanse of our money, how we use our money to make payments. Formerly starting out with cash, we wrote checks, we used debit cards and ATM cards at the point of sale, we use credit cards, we can send money by wire transfer or by an electronic check. And so the private sector has innovated all along that continuum of financial technology, and that's why today we don't want the Fed to drive that, to potentially control it, to issue it, for individuals to bank at the Fed and be subject to these risks to privacy or surveillance. Let's stick with the approach of private sector solutions. We've already seen small glimpses of this possibility under the prior administration. House Financial Services Subcommittee Chair for Oversight and Investigations, Dan Muser of Pennsylvania, has been having a robust discussion about the debanking policies of the prior administration for politically disfavored industries. The capability for the government then to follow on and directly freeze or delete Americans' funds on a whim, it's not compatible with our values, with our cherished freedoms, or our way of life, or even the past approach to the evolution of payments in our country. Moreover, a government-run digital dollar would put the Federal Reserve potentially in direct competition with the private sector. Further, a CBDC would create unnecessary risks by consolidating financial power within the federal government, limiting choice and threatening the very innovation that made American financial markets the strongest in the world. For all these reasons, I'm thankful that consistently my friend, our colleague, Majority Whip Tom Emmer, has been leading the charge to prohibit the implementation of a U.S. central bank digital currency. And I thank him for the work he's done to elevate this issue in the Congress and bring this bill before us once again for a vote on this House floor. I hope all my colleagues can recognize that Article 1 determines how we issue money and how we value it, that that's a power of the Congress, and that we're not delegating it to the executive. We control that in Article 1. This bill says that you can't issue a CBDC without that specific, explicit authority and direction from the Congress. I urge all my colleagues to join me in supporting Mr. Emmer's bill, and I reserve.
The gentleman from Arkansas reserves. The gentlewoman from California is recognized.
I yield myself such time as I may consume. Over the last hours, we heard arguments from the other side of the aisle that the United States must prioritize innovation. The Republican crypto bill we consider create giant loopholes in our federal financial laws of wealth being wiped out in the name of innovation. So it comes as no surprise to me. So if it comes as a surprise to me that the last bill we will debate would block any research, pilots, or consideration about how to digitize the U.S. dollar, it is the reason that I call H.R. 1919 the Anti-Innovation Act. Now, we've been discussing a lot about cryptocurrency. We've talked about two different acts, the Clarity Act, the Genius Act. We've talked about a lot of the intricacies of crypto. But the general public does not understand all of this because the big issuers, the big boys, literally kind of own all of the information. They're the issuers, et cetera, et cetera. It's time for the United States government to take charge. And our central bank must be involved in the study and the research so that we don't have issuing crypto or anything else without the federal government knowing and being in control. H.R. 1919 would immediately halt and prohibit the United States from any research and exploring the potential benefits of a central bank currency, or CBDC. A central bank digital currency is essentially a digital version of the dollar issued by the federal government that uses crypto technology known as blockchain to record everything and everybody who owns tokens. Open it up, let's know who the big issuers are. There are two types of CBDCs, and this bill bans both of them. A retail CBDC is made available to consumers directly from the Federal Reserve or from a bank or other financial institutions. A wholesale CBDC is not available to the public, but only to the banks and other financial institutions. This bill would ban both this kind of CBDC. Now, when Republicans raise concerns about CBDCs, they're talking about retail CBDCs. But because they're so adverse to knowledge, adverse to studying things, they have no idea that their bill blocks research into other forms of digitizing the dollar that would truly cut costs for the people. For example, J.P. Morgan Chase has estimated that $100 billion could be saved in cross-border transactions every year if a wholesale CBDC is adopted. Now, earlier this week, in the Rules Committee, we heard Republicans claim that we need to weaken oversight of private crypto because doing so will help cross-border payments. So I would ask my colleagues across the aisle, why abandon any research into making the greenback ready for the future? The thing is, if this bill passes, the United States would be the only country in the world to ban any research in the world on CBDCs. What are you afraid of? Why don't you want the knowledge to be held and explained? 137 countries are racing ahead, some studying, others issuing their own CBDCs. The foreign currency markets are evolving, but Republicans want to stick their heads in the sand. Those 137 countries and currency unions represent 98% of the global GDP, and China is one of the front runners in the global race to implement a viable CBDC. And do you know why China is quickly rolling out its digital currency? It desperately wants to create an alternative to the U.S. dollar to determine the dominance of our currency. Mr. Speaker, America reaps great riches because our currency, the dollar, is the primacy currency used around the world for all sorts of trade, from sales of oil to commodities to financial contracts. One of those benefits is that when we take out a loan to buy a car, or use our credit cards, our interest rates are much lower than in other countries. Another benefit is that the United States can pressure bad actors from Iran to Russia to China by cutting off access to our financial system and the dollar using sanctions. But those same countries would love to replace the dollar with their currency or something else. One way China hopes to do this is to show that the dollar is an antiquated currency, whereas the Chinese currency is the future. It is so short-sighted to not even study how the dollar could be digitized, especially during the same week that Republicans want to let private companies create their own currency. And so it is very important for all of us to understand that if you want to be innovative, if you want innovation, you will study, you will understand, you will be able to explain. If you really want to protect the American reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman from California reserves. The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd ask unanimous consent that I could insert in the record the Congressional Budget Office estimate for this bill.
Without objection.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask our distinguished chair of our subcommittee on financial technology and digital assets and artificial intelligence, Mr. Stile of Wisconsin, to address this bill for 2.5 minutes.
The gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized.
I thank my friend Chairman Hill. I rise in strong support of the Anti-CBDC Surveillance Act, and I want to thank Whip Emmer for his leadership on this issue. He's actually one of the first in Congress to raise the alarm, and since then the case has only grown stronger about the risks posed by U.S. CBDC. Mr. Speaker, the globe and the global economy is at a crossroads when it comes to digital payments. Jurisdictions around the world are upgrading their payment systems to be faster, to be cheaper, and cross-border. The payment sector is leading the way, including payment stablecoins, to enhance the payment rails. As the United States grapples with modernizing our own payment systems, we're confronted with a choice. Do we empower free market solutions that protect privacy, protect individual liberty, or do we centralize control over payments in the hands of the federal government? To me, Mr. Speaker, the choice is clear. Federal Reserve Governor Christopher Waller has repeatedly warned that a CBDC is, quote, a solution in search of a problem. Yet nonetheless, Mr. Speaker, in 2022 Executive Order on Responsible Development of Digital Assets, President Biden sought to explore a U.S. central bank digital currency, placing, quote, the highest urgency on research and development efforts into the potential design and development options of a United States CBDC. But President Trump understands a CBDC's threat to American freedoms. In a January 2025 executive order, President Trump explicitly prohibited any federal agency from issuing or advancing a CBDC without direct congressional authorization. In a free society, Mr. Speaker, financial privacy and private property rights must be protected. The American economy thrives on choice, competition, and liberty, not on coercion and control. I urge members to support this bill in preserving liberty, protecting privacy, and ensuring the United States of America is a global leader in financial innovation. I yield back.
The gentleman from Wisconsin yields back. The gentleman from Arkansas.
Reserve.
Committee on Digital Assets, Financial Technology, and Artificial Intelligence. He knows more about digital assets than anybody on the opposite side of the aisle.
The gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized for 3 minutes.
I thank the gentlelady for her confidence and her time. I rise in strong opposition to H.R. 1919, the so-called Anti-CBDC Surveillance Act. At the expense of U.S. global economic leadership, this misguided legislation would prevent the Federal Reserve from issuing a central bank digital currency, also known as a CBDC. Unfortunately, the facts surrounding the development of CBDC has been obscured by disinformation, conspiracy theories, and extreme political ideology. Republicans and the crypto industry have made unfounded claims that a CBDC will be used as a surveillance tool by the federal government. Let's be clear about what a CBDC is. A publicly issued digital dollar that would be regulated by the Federal Reserve, an independent Federal Reserve that would have the full faith and backing of the U.S. government. A CBDC would serve as an alternative to existing forms of payment and will have benefits including instant payment settlement, provide a medium for cross-border transactions, and foster greater financial inclusion. And Congress could require that the architecture of a central bank digital currency not have surveillance capabilities. More than 130 countries are or have been studying, or they have launched their own government-backed digital currencies, including every major world power. Meanwhile, the U.S. remains far behind amid an increasingly and blatant misinformation campaign about the features of a digital currency. Let's talk about the EU. It is widely acknowledged that the EU has one of the most stringent data protection protections, number one, on the GDPR. They have access, so European citizens, EU citizens have access to control of their personal data. They have the right to be strict penalties for companies that violate their personal data rights. The United States could have the same in a U.S. digital currency. There's a widening gap between the U.S. and its G7 peers, all of whom have far more advanced CBDC projects than the U.S. I'll go back to the EU. The EU is in the final stages of a pilot retail CBDC program already. So far ahead of us. They're going to capture the future if we adopt this bill. The U.S. government has always led the way in harnessing technology to promote innovation. Look at DARPA and NASA space programs, clear examples of what happens when the U.S. invests in research and development. While concerns about data privacy could be real, we have the ability to protect that data in any architecture that we adopt. It's counterintuitive that my colleagues would be raising concerns about data privacy while thousands of private companies are scooping up data every single day. Vote no on this bill. I yield back.
The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to yield 4 minutes to the gentleman from Kentucky, the chair of our House Financial Institutions Subcommittee, Mr. Barr.
Absolutely. The gentleman from Kentucky is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in strong support of my friend from Minnesota, Whip Emmer's bill, the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, a bill I'm proud to co-sponsor. This bill would prohibit the Federal Reserve from issuing a central bank digital currency or a CBDC to anyone. Now, I don't think the Federal Reserve has the authority to do this. In fact, a cursory, simple review of the Federal Reserve Act shows that the Federal Reserve does not have the legal authority to issue a CBDC to individuals absent explicit authorizing legislation from Congress. The Supreme Court has also recognized Congress's power to coin money and regulate the value thereof, implicitly denying to the executive branch or to the Fed the ability to do this without congressional authority. That said, I think it's prudent to explicitly deprive the Fed of the authority to do this for a variety of reasons. As has been said, Americans' financial privacy is at stake here. And we should not try to compete with China by becoming more like China. The argument for a CBDC that, oh no, Beijing is doing this, we should do it too. Why on earth would we want to imitate, emulate, or copy Beijing's surveillance state authoritarianism? And to my friend on the other side of the aisle who just made the argument, oh, we're behind. The European Central Bank is doing this. When have we in this country, the United States of America, wanted to emulate Europe? This is America. We do it the American way, not the European way, not the Chinese way, not the communist socialist way. We do it the free enterprise way. We do it the limited government way. We do it the way to honor Americans' privacy through the Genius Act, through private stable coins. That's the way we should do it. That's the way we should lead in innovation. And so, yes, personal privacy is at stake. Surveillance of Americans' individual financial transactions through a CBDC does raise serious privacy concerns and concerns about government control and politicization of loans, online payments, credit scores, tax compliance, federal contracts, monetary policy, and the like. But in addition to these privacy concerns, a central bank digital currency would centralize Americans' finances, eroding the banking deposit base. That would decrease competition and choice. And this is a big concern that I have, that a CBDC would substantially decrease the availability of credit and increase the cost of financial services and products for consumers, destroying our conventional traditional banking system. Our banking system, in contrast to Europe, in contrast to China, is the envy of the world due to its free market principles, its dynamism, and its diversity. Banks of all different sizes serve customers, communities, businesses with all different needs. And capitalism promotes market demand, which incentivizes banks to offer products that fit the needs of their consumers at the best price possible. We don't want to eliminate that. We don't want to erode the deposit base with a CBDC. So I ask you, Mr. Speaker, would we truly want to lose the benefits of a diverse banking system that makes the U.S. the global leader in the financial system? Do we want to take actions to be more like China or Europe and decrease Americans' right to privacy? I went to the European Central Bank. I heard them lecture us about a CBDC, and it made me more convinced than ever that we don't want to be like Europe. The answer is we do not want to be like Europe. We do not want to be like the communists in Beijing. We must not disintermediate our banking system and allow for a creation of a CBDC. We must not threaten Americans' access to privacy. That's why I support this legislation and urge all my colleagues to do so as well. And if you really don't like a CBDC, to my Republican colleagues, vote for the Genius Act, which takes away all the arguments for it. I yield back.
Time's expired.
Mr. Speaker, I reserve.
Gentleman reserves. The gentlelady from California is recognized.
Thank you. I now yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from Connecticut, Mr. Himes, who is also the ranking member of the Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence.
Thank you, ma'am. The gentleman from Connecticut is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the gentle lady from California for this opportunity to speak, because this is one of the most ignorant things I have seen this House produce in a very, very long time. And it stuns me, frankly, that my good friends, Congressman Hill and Stile and Barr, are associating themselves with this bill. Let's be super clear about this. Nobody knows whether a CBDC is a good idea. A couple years ago, I wrote a white paper on CBDC, and I concluded that it's not clear. And the arguments for and against are being mooted today. Yes, it could be abused by an overwhelming executive. If we had a president that, for example, showed disdain for the Constitution, that was comfortable acting illegally, that wasn't comfortable with judicial rulings, it's hard for us to imagine that president, but this could be abused. It could be used for monetary policy, bad idea. It could be used for taxation, bad idea. It could also, by the way, be a trusted electronic currency for an unbanked population. It could be a way of supporting the primacy of the American dollar. I don't know. And the truth is that nobody on that side of the aisle or this side of the aisle knows either. But we're going to forbid any inquiry around this to figure out whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. We're going to say you can't even research it. Stunning definition of ignorance. Imagine if we had said electricity is scary 100 years ago. It can kill you. It's produced by burning coal, which is dangerous. So we're going to not research electricity or atomic power or the automobile. Tens of thousands of Americans die every year because of the automobile. We don't know, and the majority says, let's not learn, because they have some ideological fixation that, frankly, I don't understand. 200 years ago, the private sector, which my friends on the other side of the aisle hold up, had issued currency. It was called scrip. Companies and banks issued their own currency, and this country learned that that was a terrible idea, and that, in fact, the central bank should issue currency, which is one of the reasons we are who we are today. So you might give the CBD at least some benefit of the doubt instead of being ignorant about whether we want to know the truth. We need to stop this. We held this institution up for 2 days over a bizarre MAGA obsession, which is rooted in insanity and ignorance. Don't even find out the answer. The ranking member said that this is, like a boy who is hiding from the truth. I have another metaphor. This is like a young 5-year-old who's angry and covers his eyes and ears and believes he's invisible. Imagine just my good friend Andy Barr saying, we're not like China, we're not like Europe. What if there's a sterling or
the gentleman's time has
I
expired.
yield to the gentleman an additional minute.
I thank the ranking member.
The gentleman is recognized.
For all the rah-rah patriotism, think about this. And again, I'll acknowledge that we don't know if this is a good idea or a bad idea, and we ought to find out. But let's imagine that the European Union, which Mr. Barr wants to dissociate with himself with, puts out a CBD that picks up real usage. Now all of a sudden we have a threat to the dollar because we're still handing around pieces of paper because the Republican majority said we shouldn't even research something that may or may not be a good part of a modern 21st century economy. Come on, guys. Don't go with ignorance. You're too smart for that. Don't risk putting us behind on something that could be really important to the future of the American dollar. Vote no on this ignorant bill. I yield back.
Gentleman yields. The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Davidson, who is the chair of our National Security Subcommittee.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Davidson, you are recognized.
Thank you so much. Central bank digital currency poses an existential threat to Western civilization. It's essentially, at its heart, communist banking. Elizabeth Warren, Sherrod Brown, and Democrats in the Senate didn't walk around Omarova to be confirmed as a bank regulator because they were opposed to communist banking. They want it. And that's what central bank digital currency is. Our colleagues on the other side of this debate act like we need to study communism a little harder to figure out whether it works or not. We've got plenty of evidence. It doesn't work. Central bank digital currency inserts government between you and your money. The government, another word for central bank digital currency is programmable money. Well, who does the programming? The central bank. They can condition your access to your own money with whatever parameters they put in place. They can filter transactions. They can even set them to expire. And monetary policy wonks in the communist banking world think this is a feature, not a flaw. They think that they could set your access to your money to expire, that it would be a better future. Every dystopian fiction that I have found, Brave New World, 1984, says this is the future of money, that it's corrupted into a tool for surveillance, coercion, and control. And frankly, our own current banking systems crept too close to that. We need to turn the other direction. And the market's telling us that. That's why cryptocurrency was invented, frankly. That's why it's so popular and it's a growing asset class. We need to say no to this, and we need to protect what the market is telling us consumers want. And we tested this under the Biden administration. They decided that they were going to spy on your bank accounts if you had $600 in your bank. And the public said, whoa, what? Why are you spying on my bank account? And in a communist world, they say, well, if you have nothing to hide, then why should you have anything to fear? But that's not our way of life in this country. The Fourth Amendment doesn't say that. It says if you have probable cause, and only then you get a warrant. Here, you build in the surveillance into the program. And look, I get it. If all men were angels, this would never be abused, but we know they're not. We've seen massive abuse in our own country, but in Canada, we saw Trudeau, a fellow traveler on the communist Long March, want to ban people's access to their own bank accounts because they were protesting his COVID policies at trucker rallies. This is very easy to do when you have programmable money. We need to say no to this. It is an existential threat to our way of life, and ideally we would do it at every opportunity. I urge all our colleagues to vote for Mr. Emmer's bill and stop this threat to our way of life. I yield back.
Gentleman yields.
I reserve, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman reserves. The gentlelady from California is recognized.
Thank you. I now yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from California, Mr. Sherman, who is also the ranking member of the Subcommittee on Capital Markets.
The gentleman from California is recognized.
I worked hard in school, but the grade I'm proudest of is to be the first member of this House to get an F from the crypto industry. Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution says that it's the federal government and Congress who should coin money and determine the value thereof. But our Republican friends tell us that that means that the federal government should be stuck with 1776 technology, while the competitors of the dollar race forward in the 21st century. The largest super PAC expenditures in history occurred last year. The crypto industry spent more on independent expenditures. Take a look at this. You combine all of the expenditures from big oil plus big pharma, put them together, multiply by 5, and you still don't have what the crypto industry did last year. And so it's not surprising that we hear words like freedom, innovation, choice, and competitiveness used to justify making money for the crypto bros, and now we have a bill designed to prevent freedom, innovation, choice, and competitiveness when it poses a risk to their profits. This bill not only prevents us from ever having a digital dollar, it prevents us from even studying a digital dollar. Now, I think Americans will always have banks, credit cards, debit cards, Zelle, Venmo, cash, money market funds, and pursuant to the bill that it looks like we're going to pass today, they'll have stablecoin, a privacy device specifically designed for criminals and tax evaders. And then they'll have mixers to make it impossible for even the most advanced law enforcement, even with a warrant, to find out what's happening. So they have all those choices. What's the one choice you're not allowed to have? You're not allowed to have the currency provided for in the U.S. Constitution. You're not allowed to have a digital dollar or even a study of a digital dollar. You're not allowed to, if you don't want to carry a lot of paper around, you can't have the full faith and credit of the United States. Now, we've talked about the role of the U.S. dollar and the critical role that it plays in international transactions and why that is a major economic benefit to the United States. The crypto bros occasionally tell you out loud what they're thinking, and that is they want to minimize and destroy the role of the U.S. dollar internationally. So what do to hobble the dollar? They say the Chinese Communist Party can have a digital yuan. The Bitcoin bros can have a digital currency. But America is limited to 7076 technology. Our banking system is the envy of the world because we innovate. This bill says no innovation. I'll ask for another minute.
I beg your pardon? I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman's time has expired.
I'm sorry, additional minute for the gentleman, Mr. Sherman.
The gentleman is recognized for 1 additional minute.
Look, you might think it's hypocritical that they tell us we have to have crypto because otherwise China will do it. Then they say we can't have a digital dollar because China is doing it. It'll provide an avenue for foreign interest to provide hidden money. Cryptocurrency literally means hidden money into Trump and Trump coin. And finally, it takes our freedom and it says you can have freedom to have a digital currency only if you do it in a way that enriches the crypto bros.
Expired.
No choice
The gentleman's time
for Americans
has expired.
who want a digital dollar. I yield back.
The gentleman yields. The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
Thank the Speaker. I want to have the pleasure to introduce the author of this important legislation and yield 4.5 minutes to the Majority Whip of the U.S. House of Representatives, Mr. Emmer of Minnesota.
Thank you, sir. The whip is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. After much debate, we can now codify President Trump's effort to prevent the development of a central bank digital currency or CBDC, and ensure that the United States digital currency policy remains in the hands of the American people and not the administrative state. I'm proud to have my legislation, the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, being considered on the House floor for a vote today. This bill is straightforward. It prevents unelected Washington bureaucrats from creating a financial surveillance tool that, if not done correctly, will fundamentally alter the lives of every American. Unlike decentralized digital assets, a CBDC is a digital form of sovereign currency that is designed, issued, and monitored by the federal government. It is government-controlled, programmable money that, if designed without the privacy protections of cash, this could give the federal government the ability to surveil and restrict Americans' transactions and monitor every aspect of our daily lives. In other words, every dollar you spend, where you spend it, who you spend it with, would all be visible to and tracked by the watchful eyes of Washington. There would be no cash, no anonymity, no space for private financial decision-making. This isn't an inconceivable concept. We have already seen examples of governments developing these types of tools and using them to weaponize their financial systems against their citizens. The Chinese Communist Party employs a CBDC that is being used to monitor and restrict citizen spending. The data is being used to develop a social credit system that rewards or punishes individuals based on their spending behavior. In Canada, the former Trudeau administration demonstrated the power of federal financial surveillance and control when it froze the bank accounts of hundreds of truckers protesting the COVID vaccine mandate in 2022. Surely, this totalitarian surveillance tool would never take root in the United States. However, that assumption would be wrong. This is not a theoretical risk. It is a very real and very dangerous precedent. Under the Biden administration, financial surveillance was a core tenet of President Biden's policy agenda. In 2022, President Biden issued an executive order placing urgency on CBDC research and development. Moreover, the agency reports created under that executive order made it clear that the previous administration was eager to create a CBDC and was willing to trade Americans' right to financial privacy for a CCP-style surveillance tool. Our bill, the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, prevents future administrations from weaponizing this technology against the American people while ensuring that any development of digital money reflects our American values of privacy, individual sovereignty, and free market competitiveness. If not designed to be open, permissionless, and private with a capital P, resembling cash, a government-issued CBDC is nothing more than an Orwellian surveillance tool that will be used to erode the American way of life. The federal government has no business monitoring Americans' daily financial lives. We don't need or want a state-run digital dollar with Chinese Communist Party characteristics. We need to protect the core principles that make this country exceptional: liberty, limited government, and the right to privacy. We are on the verge of the next game-changing technological evolution, and we must embrace this push for a more developed digital economy. In doing so, we cannot jeopardize who we are as Americans, and this bill is designed to ensure just that. I want to thank Chairman Hill and Chairman Stile for their tireless work and advocacy on this issue, in addition to the 135 members of Congress who have joined as co-sponsors of our legislation. I urge all my colleagues to support this bill, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields.
Buser of Pennsylvania.
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I do thank the chairman of our full committee, Chairman Hill, for his leadership. I do rise in support of H.R. 1919, the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, led by Whip Emmer. This bill is about defending our Constitution and protecting the privacy of the American people. The Constitution is unambiguous in Article 1, Section 8, which grants only Congress the exclusive authority to coin money, regulate the value thereof, and a foreign coin. This is a clear provision of the United States Constitution. It's a foundational element of our constitutional republic designed to keep such important authority over our nation's currency issuance within the hands of the people's representatives. A central bank digital currency would centralize unprecedented power in the federal government and could open the door to real-time surveillance of every financial transaction in America. Existing banking practices safeguard Americans' privacy. A CBDC could undo that protection overnight, creating a tool ripe for abuse. Even though the Constitution is clear, this bill restrains the Fed from even considering a central bank digital currency, reinforces Congress's constitutional authority over currency, and ensures that digital dollar reflects our founding principles. I commend Whip Emmer for his leadership, and I urge support for this very important legislation. I yield back.
Yields.
I reserve, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman reserves. The gentlelady from California is recognized.
Thank you so very much. Democrats are not the only ones who want to study CBDC. In 2021, my dear friend, Chairman Hill, worked with Representative Foster to introduce the Central Bank Digital Currency Study Act. Chairman Hill also wrote a letter to the Fed asking for information, and after the Fed agreed to do a study, he issued a statement saying, and I quote, "The Fed is finally taking actionable steps to do what we've been asking them to do for 2 years, and we're pleased to see Chairman Powell announce steps toward making a digital dollar a reality." Mr. Hill, what changed? We need more research. We need to learn more. So we need to vote no on this bill. It goes in the opposite direction from what you want and what you've been asking for. And finally, we have a chance to vote, and certainly I'm asking for a no vote, and I would hope that you would too. I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlelady reserves. The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Middle Tennessee, Mr. Rose.
The gentleman from Tennessee is recognized.
Thank you, Chairman Hill. Mr. Speaker, I rise today in support of H.R. 1919, the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act. Among the many rights we enjoy as Americans, privacy is among the most fundamental. Establishing a central bank digital currency would not only usurp consumers' privacy and individual freedom, but it would also hinder free market innovation. Digital assets are here to stay. I agree strongly with President Trump that the United States should be a leader in this space. However, the last administration held a very different view. They wasted no time exploring ways to set up a surveillance state digital currency, managed and micromanaged by the federal government. President Trump understands the dangers of more government and more surveillance. It's why he issued an executive order prohibiting a CBDC. The vote before the House would make that ban permanent, and I urge my colleagues to support this bill. Mr. Speaker, today the House will vote on the GENIUS Act, short for Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for U.S. Stablecoins Act. The bill, which was introduced in the Senate by my friend and fellow Tennessean, Senator Bill Hagerty, provides a clear regulatory framework for the issuance of payment stablecoins. Today, this payment product is offered with little, if any, federal oversight. By establishing this regulatory clarity, this bill will drive significant demand for stablecoins. This bill will ensure issuers back stablecoins with high-quality liquid assets, a major win for the American consumer. The GENIUS Act includes consumer protections and enables innovators to do what they do best. It also happens to strengthen the U.S. dollar's reserve currency status. This will result in the ability to make near-instant payments anywhere in the world, which is good for consumers, it's good for companies, and it's good for Americans. Thank you, and I yield.
Gentleman yields.
Mr. Speaker, I reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentlelady from California is recognized.
Yet again, my colleague confuses retail and wholesale CBDC. Banning wholesale CBDC is nonsensical. It has nothing to do with surveillance and everything to do with modernizing how American financial institutions and our central bank engage in intrabank cross-border transactions. This suggestion of Big Brother and monitoring is
is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to yield 2 minutes to a returning member of the House Financial Services Committee, the gentleman from Indiana, Mr. Stutzman. 2 minutes.
The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our Financial Services Chairman for his leadership on a really important issue that's going to affect many generations ahead of us. I rise today in strong support of the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act. Our founding fathers were clear that Congress, not the executive branch, has the power to coin money and regulate its value. Yet, in 2022, the Biden administration issued an executive order that placed the highest urgency on the research and development of a central bank digital currency, a so-called digital dollar. Under the wrong circumstances, this technology could allow the federal government unfettered access into the wallets of every American, putting privacy and freedom at risk. Unfortunately, us as Americans know all too well how far some administrations are willing to go to intrude into our lives. We all saw how the Biden administration ruthlessly pressured social media platforms to silence the voices of Americans who criticized their disastrous COVID-19 policies. And we saw this same ideology taken to the extreme when Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau froze the bank accounts of Canadians who dared to protest his government during the pandemic. Now imagine if the federal government could see where we spend our hard-earned paychecks, track our charitable donations, or even cut off access to our own money if it disapproves of our beliefs. Any digital dollar must reflect our values of privacy and our First Amendment rights. This bill ensures our digital assets policy is in the hands of the American people, not the administrative state. It protects our values of privacy, individual freedom, and free market innovation by prohibiting a CBDC surveillance tool that could be wielded against the American way of life. I am proud to be a co-sponsor of this important legislation, and I thank Whip Emmer and Chairman Hill for their outstanding leadership on this important issue. I urge my colleagues to support this legislation, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields.
Reserve.
Gentleman reserves. The gentlewoman from California is recognized.
I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentlelady reserves. The gentleman from Arkansas
Thank you,
is
Mr. Speaker.
recognized.
I'd like to yield 1 minute to the great gentleman from the prettiest district outside Arkansas, the gentleman from California, Mr. Collins.
Gentleman's recognized.
Mr. Speaker, the Biden administration started us down the road of adopting a central bank digital currency issued by the Federal Reserve without the consent of the American people or their representatives here in Congress. Today, we are saying no. We are not the Chinese Communist Party. We are not going to turn the central bank of the United States into a giant panopticon capable of tracking and surveilling every American citizen, keeping a watchful eye on each and every one of your financial transactions, crediting or discrediting or punishing you based on your personal behavior, restricting that behavior with the tap of a button. Nothing could be more inimical to the liberty and privacy on which American greatness depends. I am proud to be a sponsor of this critical legislation and look forward to its passage on the House floor today. I yield back.
Gentleman yields.
I'll reserve, Mr.
The gentleman reserves.
Speaker.
The gentlelady from California is recognized.
I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlelady reserves. The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to yield 1 minute to the gentleman, our new member from including the Speaker, our new member from North Carolina, Mr. McDowell, for 1 minute, please.
The gentleman from the great state of North Carolina is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. America is not a surveillance state, and under Republican leadership, it never will be, because today, this Congress has the opportunity to lay the foundation for a digital future that protects freedom and financial privacy. At the center of that effort is the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act. This bill ensures that no central bank digital currency will be created under the Federal Reserve. We've seen what that looks like in communist China, where the CCP uses it to track, monitor, and control their people. Not here, Mr. Speaker, not in the land of the free. Because together with the Clarity Act and the Genius Act, we will protect Americans' financial liberty and make the United States the crypto capital of the world. I urge my colleagues to support this legislation, and I yield back.
The gentleman yields.
Mr. Speaker, I'm prepared to close. I'd like to inquire of my friend, the ranking member, if she's prepared to close.
The gentlelady is recognized.
I have no more. I'm not prepared to close at this time. Earlier, my colleagues praised our wonderful private sector, and we know now my friends do not like studies, but I would encourage him to read the study from our biggest bank, J.P. Morgan Chase, explaining how CBDCs can save $120 billion in cross-border payments. Please read this study. Even if you don't like studies, read it anyway. Thank you very much. I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlelady reserves. The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
I reserve.
Gentleman reserves. The gentlelady from California is recognized.
Thank you. I have no further speakers, and I'm prepared to close.
The gentlelady is recognized for closing remarks.
No more speakers. Thank you. I yield myself the balance of the time. The bottom line is that we fall further and further behind global economic stage with congressional Republicans' policies. We are already seeing inflation rise on consumer goods as Trump's tariffs take place. And now Republicans want to raise the cost of auto loans, credit, card fees, and mortgages for Americans by forcing the dollar to become a relic of the past. That is why I will vote. And a great point about ignorance. And he believes that this is an ignorant bill, and it just does not speak well. Not wanting to do research and study to determine what is in the best interest of the dollar.
Back, the gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield myself the remainder of my time. First, I want to say thank you to the members of the House Financial Services Committee and the members of the House Agriculture Committee for all the work that they've put in on both sides of the aisle. Significant hours for multiple years, basically the last three Congresses, in thinking through what is the future of digital assets, how are they best regulated, what's the role of the United States government in oversight, what's the future of money in terms of the use of a blockchain. And so members in these committees have worked extensively. Likewise, over in the Energy and Commerce Committee, the idea of blockchain technology at large outside financial institutions has garnered a tremendous amount of bipartisan work. This House wants to make sure that we prepare this country for a prosperous, free, open Web3 technology as we go into seeing the benefits of writing applications on a blockchain. We'll see competition in blockchains just as we saw competition in operating systems in computing. And I think that breeds a lot of excitement. But no one can actually do that if we don't have clear rules of the road. We've spent this morning debating those rules of the road, that the Clarity Act that we debated on this House floor provides that market framework for the use of digital assets, custodying digital assets, investing in digital assets, or dealing or raising capital around them. It clearly defines what should be treated as a commodity versus what should be treated as a security. We talked about that important payment device on a blockchain for use in that marketplace that's outlined in Clarity, and that's a dollar-backed stablecoin. We want the U.S. to dominate in financial technology and payments, just as we do for the vast majority of payments around the world in dollars, and that is delivered by the bipartisan work in the Senate on the Genius Act. So I want to start by thanking those members, and I also want to recognize the incredibly hardworking staff members on the House Agriculture Committee and the House Financial Services Committee who've worked together unbelievably, capably, cooperatively, effectively over these last two Congresses, just as they did at the height of the cleanup from the financial crisis in 2008, when House Financial Services and the Ag Committee came together to write rules about the swap market. But I particularly want to thank Nick, Jack, Jackson, Lindsay, and Paul on the staff at House Ag. You did great. I want to thank Nick and Allison and our team on House Financial Services for their staff leadership. Mr. Speaker, this bill we're debating today is essential, and the ranking member seems to think that I'm interested in the subject of a central bank digital currency, and I am. And I've spent the better part of the last 5 years studying central bank digital currencies outside the United States, talking to officials inside the United States about whether that's a good idea or a bad idea. And over those years, it's not out of ignorance that I've come to the conclusion that it's a bad idea. And one of the contributing factors to me determining that I don't believe it's an idea whose time has come to supplement private sector innovation in this nation is actually Congressman Jim Himes' white paper that he shared with me years ago. I thought it was well written, and it was another indication that this was not the direction to go in. And since that time, I have visited with other central banks around the world, in Europe and other places, that make me even more certain that we should rely on private sector innovation that in turn can create the tokenized money that we've talked about all morning, but doesn't do it in a way that can surveil your work, take over your life, have the outcomes that you heard from Congressman Davidson, Congressman Emmer, about the examples of debanking that we witnessed in Canada, or the policy debanking we witnessed in the Obama administration, and to a degree the Biden administration. So Americans have made it clear we don't want the federal government controlling how we spend, save, or send our money in our personal lives. We've witnessed firsthand the dangers when government wield that power unchecked, and you heard examples of that this morning. Americans want and deserve control over their own money, and we've tried to institutionalize that in all the work we've done in both of these committees in this digital assets innovation and reform space. We believe in self-custody. I have self-custody in the analog world of cash and investments. Why can't I have that custody, that self-control in my digital financial space? I don't understand why one can't recognize the authorities that we have on our person, constitutionally guaranteed by law, in an analog context, why we can't demand the same. So I urge my bills to join me in supporting this bill. I yield back the balance of my time.
Thank you, sir. The gentleman has yielded. All time for debate has expired. Pursuant to House Resolution 580, the previous question is ordered on the bill as amended. The question is on engrossment and third reading of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The third reading.
A bill to amend the Federal Reserve Act to prohibit the Federal Reserve banks from offering certain products or services directly to an individual, to prohibit the use of central bank digital currency for monetary policy and for other purposes.
The question is on the passage of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The bill is passed.
Mr. Speaker?
For what purpose does the gentlelady rise?
What? The yeas and nays.
The yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, further proceedings on this question will be postponed.
I don't know what that means. If someone wants to write on X what just happened, did it get passed? Did it not get passed? I have no idea. I'd appreciate your thoughts or some expertise.
I'm always the guy to answer. Is that Rule 18?
What happened? Can someone tell me on X? I'm reading the chat on X. I think it's also on LinkedIn if you want to respond. So is this all passing? Is crypto here? Is America back? It would appear so. All right, I'm keeping the other thing open right now. They're just walking around the floor doing nothing, and there's no volume. Side note, what a silly concept of like how our, just not even our government, it's like how all governments are ran. It's like such a formal looking, it's like your grandma's house kind of vibe, you know, all the wood. It's cool though, but yeah. All right, so is crypto here? I would love if someone could tell me on X, please. Anybody want to step up? Let me know. I hope you enjoyed this. This was my first ever stream of something like this. We have 326 people watching on X. 327. Oh my gosh, we're growing like weeds. That's awesome. I'm very pro crypto. I'm so excited. If this is, I just want Genius Act to pass. For those that aren't familiar with the Genius Act, that basically just brings stablecoin. They're talking. Let's go back.
On the State of the Union for further consideration of H.R. 4016. Will the gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Knott, kindly take the chair?
Read this.
That's yours.
The House is in the committee of the whole House on the State of the Union for the further consideration of H.R. 4016, which the clerk will report by title.
A bill making appropriations for the Department of Defense for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2026.
All right, that was a bill not about crypto. Let's go do some research and figure out if what just happened. Did it pass? Let's ask ChatGPT. The live stream has finished, and I'm not sure if the Genius Act or the CBDC Someone I know, it's got 330 people. I look like I don't know how it works, but I don't know how it works. So I appreciate if someone could tell me. Okay, it says the House has now passed the proceed. Yeah, but that was yesterday morning. Oh no, it says Thursday. Okay, yeah. So the House has now passed a procedural rule to advance the Genius Act, along with related crypto legislation, by 217 to 212. Vote early Thursday. Okay, so that was right now. This clears the way for a full debate and final vote. So that was just the procedural. And for those that aren't familiar, the procedural was the thing that they failed to pass or failed to vote yes on Tuesday. And then Trump called in the 11 of the 12 representatives and flipped them. to voting yes. So then Wednesday we came in and we thought we got the yes votes, which they did. I think they voted yes in the procedural, and then it all fell apart again. So I think we're right back to where we started. I have honestly no idea how any of this works. All I know is go crypto. I saw this as well. I hope everyone saw this. If not, I'll read it to you. We set a record yesterday. Almost a 10-hour long procedural standoff that ended last night. So they just stood around for 10 hours and did what we just heard. It's so funny. Let's just pass it, see what happens. All right, so now what? Now what? Yeah, yesterday it's so funny. The crypto prices rose even after they didn't pass the procedural. All right, so now that the rule passed, the House has begun full floor debate. Okay, but they weren't debating it on the floor in this video. I'm gonna go check that real quick. Yeah, they're still debating the Defense Act or whatever that is. Talking about 1961, how President John F. Kennedy recognized liberty, blah, blah, blah. Okay, all right, I'll keep an eye on that. Let's just see real quick. Genius Act vote. Let's just see if it's happening somewhere else. No, it's definitely... Nope. All right, something else. Okay, anyways. I guess we just wait. Just wait. I got nothing better to do today. Just wait around. Hope this works. The final vote could happen later today, Thursday or Friday. This was what I wrote about in my newsletter. Yeah, will all three pass this week? I'm hoping they all pass, but I said I think the Genius Act gets approved by the House. So we just had step half one of that happening. And then I said I think the other two are anyone's games. I wrote this on Monday, and since then it has been anyone's game, and it's been chaos. However, I do think the Genius will get approved. So if it gets approved Thursday, what did I say here? Yeah, I think I said expected to vote Wednesday. Well, whatever it is, hopefully it's tonight, but this would be so massive for crypto. It would just really drive stuff. This has been a wild 7 days. Look at this. From 2,700. You could have been buying this at 2,700, and now you're paying 3,300. Almost 34. Yesterday you're paying 35 almost. This is this and Bitcoin are the fastest appreciating assets in history. Besides, drum roll please, this thing. I mean, that's insane. It still probably has that. Look at this. Every time there's a pullback, it pulled back to 100. Could have bought NVIDIA at 100. That's why you gotta just, what do they say? Time in market. No such thing as timing the market other than time in market. You just gotta have your cash in it. If you're not subscribed to this newsletter, you should go subscribe. And if you're not in my community, you should go join us. if you're a founder who's fundraising, there's some really helpful videos in here that I made that you can go watch. I raised some money, and then we're doing an event in 2 weeks you can go register for. So that's at, this is the domain. Just go to that on your website or on your computer. Boom. All right, I'm gonna go check, see if the house is live again. Nope. She's still blabbering. What should we do? We have 350 people watching. Does anyone want to come up here and talk? Anyone want to advertise their startup or their crypto? Talk about what you're building? I'd love to hear it. If you want to come up and talk, I'm going to put the link to join this on my X. Okay. So scan that with your phone or just type it into your browser, whatever. And then go to my most recent post, which I'm about to create. Actually, I'll just show it to you. So go to my most recent post, click this, and then it'll ask you to join this live stream with me and we can talk. Anyone's welcome, literally all walks of life. I don't care. I don't care what you're doing. I don't care if you like crypto or not. Preferably you do. It's probably an audience that likes crypto. But yeah, come on up here. So go to my X and then click this one right here. Bada boom, bada bing. And then click this and it'll literally bring you in here. I never know if it actually benefits to repost your own stuff. Nobody cares about my stuff. Nobody reads my post. All right, come on up here. Who wants to talk? Otherwise, I got something cool to share, actually. Okay, so this is my company. This is a website I built. An application, and it's at vcnetworking.com, like venture capital networking, vcnetworking.com. So if you want it, this is happening on July 30th. If you want to come pitch Mercedes Bent, who is a legend and a venture partner at Lightspeed Ventures, then you can come here to the bottom of this page and go through the application. I'll be reviewing all of them by next Friday, and then I'm going to be picking 5 to 10 CEOs to come pitch her. For those of you that don't know Lightspeed Ventures, you should. But this is an amazing opportunity for you to come pitch. I think they have 25 billion with a B. So that's a lot of money. So you should come pitch them. And I'm organizing all this and facilitating it. They have a lot of good companies they funded. Let's look at their portfolio. Oh, look at that. They funded Asaf from Wiz. Wiz just sold to Google for, I think it was $24 billion. So that guy's going to have a good Christmas. Oh, no. $32 billion. Wow. So, okay, so that's the fund who's coming to pitch and do stuff with me next week. So you should definitely come, apply to pitch on my website here. You can also find that on my X somewhere, or go to my vcnetworking.com and ask my little bot. I have an AI bot I built. Throw me the follow. I appreciate it. It's always the end of a session when I start reading URLs out loud. That's not cool. What else should we talk about? Oh, I got a good, okay. How about this? I'll give a presentation. I'm assuming most people here are startup founders. I'm gonna give a cool presentation about fundraising, or maybe it'll be about something else. Let me look through some of my presentations, see what we got. Maybe we'll take a vote. Here, I'll show you. Bada boom, bada bing. Okay, so these are, I keep all my presentations here. Not very organized, unfortunately. Okay, 1 second. All right, here's my presentations. Now I found them. All right, so what are the options? Let's click. I'm feeling this one is a good one. Let's click this. That's about my journey. Oh, I should have moved to LA, but I didn't. We don't need to go over that. What else? Ooh, AI overlords. Oh, this is from December. What did we talk about back here? Let's think. That's true. This was made in December, I believe. Let's look. Yep, December 27th. Oh, this was, I think I gave this. I don't know what that is, but cool. Oh, this was that crypto. There was a crypto AI company. Oh, whatever happened to this? Virtuals? Let's look at that. But basically, it allowed developers to build AI agents that controlled Twitter accounts. And then you could give it parameters of what you wanted it to do. And the AI agent had its own wallet so that it could then pay other agents or other crypto agents to like basically follow it and things like that. It was a real big hit. Let's look what happened to it. I think it was called the Virtuals Protocol. Yeah, here it is. Society of AI Agents. Love it. Great marketing. What the heck just happened? What the heck is this? Wait, this is the Virtuals Pro. Oh, yeah, it is. Look, same thing. Okay. Oh, wow. Look, when I zoom out, it does this. Okay. Okay. Let's zoom back in. Whee! All right. Click one of these things, see what happens. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. We're deep in the rabbit hole. Whenever you see this guy, you know you're in the rabbit hole. Connect with a wallet. I'm not going to connect with a wallet on live stream. There he is. Rabbit Hole Frank. That's what they call him. Unfortunately, this is above my pay grade. If anyone understands what I'm looking at, please come to speak with us right now. The link is on my X. Literally just go to my X, click my most recent post, and there's a little link to this chat. You can come here live. I'd greatly appreciate it. I'd love to know what this is. So, okay, so they have ecosystem fund. Now I speak venture. I don't speak dev, but I speak venture. Virtuals Ventures is the ecosystem fund for protocol. Perfect. Okay, love this. All right. After all that high tech, it's a type form. Blech. We will ask you about your agent's project's name. The agent doesn't do that. All right. I don't know. Oh my, look at all these. Crypto has such a funny design. What was the website? Memescope. Does anybody know Memescope? Apparently it's where everybody gets their Solana meme coin news from, or some of it. But look at the design, it's just so funny. Wait, I gotta let it load. Meme scope. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Yeah, look, almost the exact same design. Here's Solana Tracker. This is tracking all these meme coins. And then here's the Virtuals protocol. Almost no difference. 1, 2. You know when you go to the eye doctor appointment and they have to cover one of your eyes and they're like, what's more clear, 1 or 2? Or 1 or 2? Anyways, all right, crypto's cool. What else should we talk about? Should we all pump a meme coin? Just kidding. I don't even know how it works. No, actually, I do. I'm quite intelligent, low key. All right, does anyone want to come up here and explain to me Virtuals protocol? I would appreciate it. Come on. Who's gonna be brave? I know someone out there has got to be brave. Literally, just go to my X, click the link. It'll pop you right in here. Look, I'll do it right now. You go to my X, /Donversations, and then scroll down to this one and click this. Watch, we'll open it up in incognito so you can get your perspective, what that's going to look like. And it's literally just going to bring you in here and you can join me right away, okay? Forgot to share the screen. Okay, so it's going to bring you in here. Why isn't that sharing? Oh, it doesn't share incognito. Okay, interesting. Huh. All right, anyways, when you click it, it's going to bring you here. I'll show you. Oh, no, it doesn't let me show you. All right, just go click the link. Come on up here, somebody. Let's do this thing. 365 people are watching this. I cannot believe that. What are you watching? Come on. It's 1 o'clock on a Thursday. Doesn't everyone have jobs? Going up on a Tuesday. This is only my 3rd live stream ever. The first one we had 10 people concurrently watching. Second time yesterday was our second time. We had 100 and something. And now we're at 365. It's a lot of pressure to do something. I'm not sure. Oh, you know what we could do? Does anyone want to come? Watch. Does anyone want to come up here and pitch their company or pitch their idea? I have a 1-minute timer I can put you on, and you can come pitch the internet, your business. Who knows what's going to happen? It'll be fun. Maybe you'll get a customer. All right, I'm going to go check this House of Representatives thing real quick while I wait for you to go. Nope, still complaining about stuff. All right. You know what else we could do? It's so fun to play around with this stuff. Okay. What are we going to do? I bet you we can get to 400 concurrent if we start clicking on White House related clickbait, huh? Should we restream this? No, I don't care. I'll talk about what I built since everyone's... Oh, I have a great idea. Okay, I could actually use everybody's help here. So this is my company. If you haven't joined yet, I encourage you to. It's under construction, work in progress. So cut me some slack. It's under construction. Anyways, I need to come up with I need to come up with the angle of what's going to benefit you all most of content I can provide. I appreciate so much that everyone follows me, even when I'm just like covering random crypto stuff. And I appreciate so much that everybody shows up to my events. Like every week, people show up. It's awesome. I appreciate it. I want to build this into a business that is conducive to my lifestyle. And, you know, I've really kind of tried to tailor this around the concept that there's public conversations every Wednesday. So yesterday, if you missed it, you missed it, but it was an awesome one with Republic.com. And we basically broke down two key things. One, how do you fundraise online through crowdfunding? And then also we talked about tokenization. So like they have OpenAI as an opportunity you can reserve capital in, stuff like this or something like that. I don't really know how this works, but it's just a very cool thing to have someone from like that level of company who's raised $3.3 billion for startups come and personally talk with us. And if you're in this group, then each week you can apply and you can come to these, you know, meetings. So we have this one upcoming with a $25 billion fund, a venture partner from there, Mercedes. I know Mercedes from back in the day. 9 years ago, I met her back when she was doing I think it was like a fintech startup or something. She helped scale that from a few million to 100 million, and then even like had some experience in the Federal Reserve in her career, blah, blah, blah. So if you want to come to that, make sure you join this community, and then make sure you find the application in this community page and go join that and apply. And then I'll bring you up on stage and you can pitch her your business. And then another thing is like, let's see, we did a Shark Tank event a few weeks ago where founders from our group were able to come pitch different investors. And you can see you have access to all of our members in our group just by clicking on the members tab and then going through there, and you can message people directly. So it's really cool. It's global. If you look at the maps, I'm very proud of this. I put all this together myself. Like this whole group was just an idea in my head at one point. And now look, we got 32 people on the East Coast of the United States. We got 2 people in Nigeria. We need some people in Turkey. If you're watching this from Turkey, let me know. India, got strong showing from India, even Australia. You know, it's cool. And then you can also like post in here, get help, ask for feedback on your deck, stuff like that. People post helpful stuff in here. So it's just really cool. And then I built, if you click here on the right, I built a investor networking bot, like an AI bot that's hooked up to a VC database that I trained. Got a lot of bots spamming me right here. And so you can ask it questions and it'll send you VC recommendations. So give me an example of an audience member's startup. If you can write it on X or something, I'll read it. If not, I'll just make one up. All right, how about we do, so VC Connector, which again, this is the bot I built. It said, hello, how can I assist you today? If you have any questions or need further assistance, their startup. Okay, so, hey, I want LinkedIn's to 10 VC investors who are a strong fit for my profile. Oh, how about this? Let's get some VC guests, strong fit, to come speak at my events because they, oh my gosh, I can't type. They like Series A and seed deals. Okay, so I said that to the VC Connector. And then VC Connector asks me a few questions. The industry or sector your events are focused on. So I'm going to say AI, crypto, VR, fundraising, XR, VC, blah, blah. And then any specific criteria, preferences for the investors you want to invite. I want some cool people. Ideally, well followed, fun, credible. All right, so let's see what we get here. Or maybe it'll ask me more questions. Thanks for sharing it. Here we go. Look at this. Well, obviously I want the GP from Andreessen Horowitz. It's not perfect, but like, yeah, okay, pretty good. Manny Pada. Let's see what the link is if I click that. This person looks cool. LOI Venture, 20 million seed fund backing the brightest founders under 30. Went to Harvard, human capital. So let's message him. Why not? You know? Why not? Hey, Manny. I run a founder group for top CEOs building frontier tech startups. We've had VC guests from General Catalyst, Lightspeed, and founders like Trip and Fathom AI. Would you like to be featured at one of our upcoming live streams? Our group of founders would love to pitch you their idea. Nope, I got a better way to frame it. How about this? We would love to learn your thesis. Investment thesis. And story. All right, I hope he responds. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. We'll check in soon. Set. So normally what I do when I go get speakers, for those of you that have been watching this group or those of you that are in this group, this is like behind the scenes baseball of how I do this. By the way, we need a new name for the group, so please come up with a better name. I'm going to be trying to rebrand everything towards not that soon. Okay. Wait, sorry. I lost my tab. Okay, so yeah. So anyway, so when I want to go find speakers, what I'll do is I'll find some interesting people, and I'll just click around LinkedIn and like search. So usually what I'll do is I'll go to LinkedIn. I'll go to connections. Then I'll go to then I'll go to filters. Then I'll go to locations. And I'm not going to do that. I need more filters. All right, so then this is the key to making this work. Let's see if I zoom in here so you can see. All right, so keywords, obviously. Usually a VC's company name has the word ventures or VC or fund or capital in it. So I'll just basically start by doing that. Let's do ventures. Yeah, okay. Okay. So now it'll go here. So now I'll start to click a few people's names. Ooh, Sutter Hill Ventures, they're amazing. Ooh, Cosa, they're amazing. Not heard. Oh, Heidi Rosen, she's a legend. I've actually met her a few times. There's no way she responds to me. She's such a boss. Steve Jurvetson, I mean, yeah, obviously. So he was the co-founder of DFJ, which is one of the earliest top venture funds with Tim Draper. And then Tim Draper, I think Heidi was his partner at the firm, Draper Ventures, maybe. Let's go look. Something like that. Or maybe she was just involved with Draper University. But I met her when I was at Draper University. Look at this, co-lead of this. She's just the boss. board member at every company that ever existed. TiVo, board member, shout out. Yeah, it was DFJ. So yeah, so her and Tim Draper, they were partners. Tim Draper is talk about a Bitcoin addict. Do you know Tim Draper's story of buying, I think it was $30 million of crypto? Let's see. I think he told me that he bought 30 million bucks of crypto in like 2014, and it was so early that he was unable to, or it took like 45 minutes to process or 2 days to process, whatever it was. And he's like, I thought I just blew my money. That 30 million, I think I read online, is worth like 2 billion now or something more than that probably. Here's the story, I think. Tim Draper bought 30,000 Bitcoins for it's 30,000 Bitcoins for 18 million. And he said it took a long time to process, and he wasn't sure if he just lost his 18 million or not. And then now that's worth 2 billion. So he did this real early. This guy's a legend, actual legend. All right. So anyways, back to what we were doing. So I go through different LinkedIn profiles and then I'll send them stuff. So if I think they're interesting. So Graph Ventures I've heard of. I'm sure this guy's really credible. Went to Harvard. Thiel Fellow. Whoa. For those of you that don't know the Thiel Fellow, you get $100,000 from Peter Thiel to drop out of college. Sweet. Okay, this guy's a legend. Oh, we're already connected. We already talked. Look at my I just call email forever. Look at this. 2024, January 2nd. I'll do it again here. Hey, Brian. So cool you dropped out for the Thiel Fellowship. We would love to learn that story. Not easy, but smart. Let's look at Graph Ventures' fund thesis. Ooh, they funded House Party. Cool. Oh, so they have like a nice consumer lean. All right, that's cool. Hey, Brian, so cool you dropped out for the Thiel Fellowship. We'd love to learn that story. Not easy, but smart. I run a founder group for top CEOs building frontier tech startups. He doesn't care. Love your portfolio focused around consumer. All right, we're just not copying and pasting everything. It's not genuine enough. Love your portfolio focused around consumer. Exclamation mark. Love your portfolio focused around consumer. Would be really cool to meet you and feature your story at our upcoming founder roundtable. But see, now I'm not credible because I've totally removed, like he doesn't know now that I'm actually doing something. So here, not easy but smart. So would really founder roundtable. So I'll say we're hosting one with Lightspeed Ventures on July 30th. It would be great to schedule. No, let's see. July 30th. We're actually full for August also. We have X Fund coming, which is, I think they had originally out of Stanford, but the founder of X Fund is the first angel investor in OpenAI. and his fund is going to come. It's a guy named Brandon Farwell who's a partner there. I think he's a co-founder. I don't know, but great guy. We're hosting one with Lightspeed Ventures July 30th, but August Sep is open. All right, fingers crossed. That's the fourth cold message. Send him. Fingers crossed. All right. I don't want to end this because we have a lot of people here, but actually, it would mean a lot. I feel like. Oh wait. We have what's this? Wait. I think the House is back. She was the one that voted against this yesterday. Let's see what she's saying. Or is this still for the other bill?
Americans can donate through charities to foreign countries to help foreign issues and foreign people. But the American people should not be forced to write the check, and the Department of Defense should be able to focus on their mission to deter war and ensure our nation's security. Mr. Speaker.
All right, still not crypto, so I don't care. I'm gonna go do something else. Thank you everybody for watching. Speechless. Thank you. Please. Wait, where'd the video go? Oh, I was trying to do a new trick I just learned. Wait, why is it not working? Oh, 1 sec. Rewind. 1 sec. Okay, first off, thanks for watching Crypto Week live coverage. I think it all is about to pass. We'll see. Does this show? Oh, I get it. Oh, that's the background. Okay, here we go. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Don't forget to apply. Do not forget to apply. vcnetworking.com/apply. This is a very, very good opportunity to come pitch a top VC in the world. Don't miss out on your chance to apply for this and take it serious. The application's not short, but it's not long. It's like probably 10 minutes of focused work. Here it is. Sorry, I'm still learning this software a little bit. Okay, this is where it is. So yeah, this is a great opportunity. If you are a founder, if you aren't a founder, but you know a founder in your network, someone that's giving their all to work their butt off to try to become successful and build companies, if you know that person, or if you are that person, you need to send this link to them and they need to apply, okay? She is a top VC in the world. This is a $25 billion fund. That's almost 1/10 of the stablecoin market cap. This is worth applying to. So vcnetworking.com, I'll put it on the bottom here, but it's also on my X. And now it's on the bottom too. Wait, now it is. vcnetworking.com. All right, thank you everybody for coming. If there's anything else you want to talk about, we're going to do another live session in 2 weeks, as I said, with Mercedes from Lightspeed. So make sure you go RSVP for that. you can join our community here. There's 330 people in there and growing. And also we're doing a conversation on Friday. The conversation on Friday are reserved for the premium group. And so if you want to be in the premium group, you can also pay to join, but the other one is free. But this is where the real business gets done on Fridays. All right, I'm done. You guys, everyone want to say goodbye to my dog? Bentley, come here, buddy. Come here, buddy. You want to say bye to the internet? Say bye to the internet. There you go. Whee! Wait, we gotta get rid of this. Oh, he's sleepy. Right? You sleepy? Bentley, you want to bark into the microphone? Bark, bark. No? All right. Our premium community is $1,600. Cha-ching, cha-ching. That gets you a year, $1,600 a year. You can do it all in that app, School. If you don't know School, you should definitely go check out the app. It's co-founded by Sam Ovens. Sam Ovens is an entrepreneur who originally created consulting.com, and he was like one of the early online consulting people, and he like really pioneered that whole industry, good or bad. He really pioneered it. I love the guy. I think he's great. And you know, you kind of like watch him from earlier in his career versus now. He's like grown out his hair. He's gained a little weight. I think he's married. Like, he just seems like he's focused on giving back. Supposedly they have like $1 billion of creator revenue on School. But it is one of the coolest platforms. His vision for it is basically like the new Facebook. Here, I'll show you. His vision for it is like a new Facebook where everything's a little more privatized. So that's why I built our community on there. But if you go to Discover Communities, there's like a ton of different stuff that you can go sift through. So like this guy supposedly runs an incredible AI community. I'm sure everyone will join him instead of mine, whatever. But actually, I was sitting at a cafe the other day, and the girl that was sitting next to me, I think she worked in healthcare or something, she said. But she said she just started doing these courses and joining this community. She said she watched this video, which is entitled My Story, and she said she actually cried. So I don't know what that means, but probably pretty good. And then similar to us, although, he doesn't have a very active calendar. Look at that. Not nearly as good as us. Although he does have 208,000 people, but we'll get there one day as long as all 305 of you that are watching right now end up joining. 376. Wow. Cool. All right. I say goodbye. Adios. We'll be doing this again soon. Make sure you mark the notification on X or whatever so that you get this notification. As soon as the crypto bill officially passes, we'll make a little statement. Long Bitcoin, long Ethereum. That's how it goes. What's the price? Let's look. That's the last thing we'll do, and then we'll hop off. Ethereum. Woo, baby. That's really skyrocketed. That's crazy. 20% in 5 days. It's really gone sideways for 5 years. Really gone sideways for a year. But if you look at it overall, from that point, it's really gone up. But if you look at it from this point, 1,300, it's really only 3x versus Bitcoin in that time. Let's see what that's done. Was it time period? Max. So that's since 2019. Oh, yeah. But Ethereum's younger. So, yeah, I would say, like, let's call it here. 11,000. So yeah, Bitcoin's really appreciated significantly more than Ethereum in the last 5-10 years. And the question is, now that the stablecoin bill is hopefully going to get passed does that now enable Ethereum to take hold? And some people say, well, Ethereum doesn't have high enough fees. That's the point. The point is it's the internet. It doesn't, oh, he doesn't like fees. Point is it's the internet. And so you want low fees and you want insane amounts of transactions. If everything's going to go digital, if the whole internet goes onto Ethereum and Ethereum's taking a small percentage of it, I'm fine with that as an Ethereum ETH holder, or ETH holder, not Ethereum. Cardinal sin. All right. Anyways, please go join my community. Please go follow me on X. Please, if you appreciated this, let me know. Took me some time to figure out how I live stream all this stuff for everybody, but I thought it was important to live stream crypto legislation. Snooze fest, but important. All right. Bye.